What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. I'm your host, Izzo, and I'm super excited about this episode. We're here with Isaac. He's going to drop some gems today on the necessity of marketing and branding. And I'm super excited for this conversation now. 2023, we got AI, we got so many things happening. We're going to dive right in. So help me join me in welcoming Isaac to the show. Isaac, what's happening?
What's going on? What is going on? I know you're on the West Coast and I'm in Florida, so it's like I don't know which heat is better. I know this pollen is kicking my behind, so I feel like it's starting to, do all that thing in the throat. But
Right.
but
Well,
all
you're
is well
probably
though.
better with the weather there. Today is actually between sunny and cloudy. It's still a little chilly in LA, but being from the
No.
East Coast.
Oh yeah, and I'm from Philly, so I already know. Last night I was talking to my best friend. No, this morning I think, and she had snow and sleet, and I said, "Oh, okay, I won't complain. I'm all right."
Exactly. Well, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here today. Tell the audience a little bit about your background, where are you from, and how you got into marketing.
So I'm originally from Philadelphia, born and raised, and it really, honestly, I got into marketing by mistake. I realized I wanted to do A&R in the beginning, so I interned at the local radio station. You know, um, Actually from an episode of Martin. Remember when Gina kind of branched off and really tried to do a spinoff show, and then she found Tyrese on the show. That kind of like piqued my interest to want to be. I never told Tashina that, and I see her like from time to time during Grammy weekend, and I
Yeah.
saw her last month, and I don't think I ever told her that, but yeah, that kind of like sparked my interest to find talent and take that talent and mold them into what the world wants. Like kind of basically A&R artist repertoire. Put them into that the studio and get their image together and all those things and stuff. Because back in the day, you could look at the back of a CD cover and see who A&R the project. I remember I felt like it was kind of a scam, but I used to pay like $70 to get that A&R book. I think I did it twice. And then I
Okay.
realized, we just call in numbers. Remember fax machine, AO, what was that? 99, 2000. Well, that's like 2000, 2001. So everything was still kind of, social media was not what it is today, where you could just DM people and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that's how I really got started. But actually, honestly, before then, going to community college in Philadelphia, I wanted to do commercials. So I think like advertisement and marketing was already in my blood. I just had to go through um, the live music, the entertainment side of things. Because in Philadelphia, I did 9 years of an event called Hidden Soul Wednesdays. So it was an open mic. And then 2010, my mentor, Deanna Williams, who's the founder of Black Music Month, which was founded in 1979, I decided to do an event called the Comeback Philly Style. And from there, I've honored about 54 celebrities, like legends in the industry, with the Deanna Williams Award. So in 2018, well, I moved to Atlanta in 2015. So 2016, I did my first one in Atlanta, and then I did one in Nashville. So about 54 people I've honored with the Deanna Williams Award. So, and then leading to that, how I got into marketing is because I realized people needed my help. They didn't know, they needed guidance on what their brand is, and I always tell people, we look at marketing, we look at PR, we look at advertisement. Those are the three main, lanes that people are driving down to make sure that their brand is good. And a lot of people throw that word branding around, and it's like, that's not really, I don't look at that as an occupation. I look at it like in addition to PR, in addition to marketing, and in addition to advertisement, because if I'm an artist and I want to be placed in a certain demographic of people, that is my brand, right? So if I drink coffee, what kind of coffee? Am I a Dunkin' Donuts drinker? Am I a Starbucks drinker? Or am I ordering from overseas and having a special type of coffee making thing? And that's a whole nother level, right? Because I'm not just walking into a establishment and buying the coffee that they made. Now I'm home creating my own mixing and matching my coffees, and then I become a connoisseur. So I'm a coffee drinker, but who's my target audience? Dunkin' Donuts is more for people who are on the run, which is their logo, and Starbucks is more of the entrepreneurs, the CEOs, the up, up in the echelon of their job, CEO, management, all that stuff, that have time to sit down and enjoy the atmosphere. And you have people who enjoy spending the money for the quality of the experience. So that's the brand. It's what you do on a daily basis. It's what you want people to constantly see you doing.
Right.
So how do we promote that? Do we promote that in media, where's the PR? Do we promote it as advertisement on a billboard, on social media, or do we look at who's in our demographic of people and place that? So it just all kind of runs together. They all are cousins to each other, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm a brand this and I'm a brand that," but then also being called a brand strategist, it's because that's the new trend. So now that's on brand to be a brand strategist. It's just when you get the people in front of you to do the consultation, and people don't do this no more, the consult, then you explain that how I just explained how you got those three lanes that we can go down, and where do you see yourself driving?
Mm-hmm.
And on another side of it too, I go deeper. I go the brand, like my slogan is the brand is you. So I have to talk to you to figure out what you want. You're a female, you live in LA, but that don't mean you're the same as the female down the street that lives in LA. You have a whole different audience. You have a whole different purpose of what you want to do. So we have to have those conversations. We also have to have a SWOT analysis, and people don't know that. They're like, "What is that?" And I've talked to people, and that's the thing. That's the seller, because people want to know their strength, their weakness, the opportunity, and the threats that can come against them as an entrepreneur, as a radio host, as a podcaster, or as a and I always tell people, even if you work a 9 to 5, work at the bank, you still need to know what's against you, what's your opportunities, growth. You can go back to school in certain companies, and they'll pay for it after you pay for it, and they reimburse you as long as you get a C. Some people don't know they have those opportunities. People look at people that work at Starbucks. I'm like, I'm about to apply so I can get free medical. You know what I mean? I can go back to school, but people want to downplay something that can elevate you to be great because how they teach you and how they manage. Like, what's that, Chick-fil-A? You can learn
Mm-hmm.
so much working at these kids that are working at Chick-fil-A are going to learn so much on how to manage, how to be on time, how to, be proper when they're dressed well and take care of themselves. And when they get out of there, they're going to go and run the world. So those are things that you don't even know that you're learning, and you're
Mm-hmm.
becoming a better person because it's just instilled in you, and you don't even realize that these are lessons that we're
Right.
learning on how to be, individuals in
Yeah.
this crazy world. So
Yes. Especially
that's pretty
with
much it.
service. Yeah. Yeah, I love that, especially with service too. So that's interesting how you said in the beginning, you weren't even on a mission to be in marketing and branding. It was something that just kind of fell in your lap. And now it's exploded for you, and you can tell you're passionate about the whole full spectrum of what it means to be a branded artist or a branded entrepreneur. And you know that when you talked about brand strategist, I do see that name, that title rather, thrown around a lot. And I'm like, okay, so what is a brand strategist? So in thinking about someone who's coming to you as an entrepreneur and they're looking to brand themselves, like just as an individual, right? So they are their brands. What is the first piece of advice you give them in terms of identifying what their branding needs to look like? Is it based on what it is that they do, or is it based on the person that they're targeting? Like, where's the first start for them?
The first target, where I dive in, is to find out what they really want. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people see somebody on Instagram or on TV and think they can do the same thing. So I think I have a cool personality, but what I lack in my personality is being able to pick up the mic and host. Right? Just
Mm.
be. I can go over to the club and host. I
You
don't
need
like being. Yeah, so I don't care to be in the club all night. But let me tell you, if I was at your uh book release or whatever, and you were like, "Hey," and I go by Ike too, so I may refer to myself as Ike. Ike, I need you to. Can you tell the audience? I can do that, but if I know that my job is to host, and that's what I'm not going to do it. So I'm better on the fly. Like, oh, just go ahead and can you just do this real quick, and then my personality will come out like that. But for me to advertise myself as a host, I don't do that because I don't feel like I have that personality, and I'm so envious of people like that. Like, dang, I wish I had that. So, but when really I sitting with somebody, I'm always asking, what is their mission statement, their
Mhm.
personal mission statement. Companies have these Fortune 500 companies have mission statements for days, and I always joke and tell people, your mission statement can be three. One sentence could be considered a paragraph when reading a book. That was a paragraph. So 2, 3, 4 page lines of a statement that basically identifies what you want. Because once you create a mission statement, you won't forget that because you're always going to be repeating it, and people are always going to read it. So once they read it, they already know. They're not going to ask you a question that they already know the answer to. So if
Right.
I can write this thing down and I can say, but my mission statement is more of a statement. It's more of a phrase, and I always just tell people, leave a legacy, not a problem. That is my mission. My mission is to never leave problems, but always leave that legacy. And with that legacy, that's the good work. That's the my reputation is good. And a lot of times people get that twisted because your reputation can be bad in a way that it's good because they know that I'm not going to come to Ike and talk this crap. I'm going to come to him correctly because he's associated with these people and stuff like that. So sometimes having that undertone of don't come for me unless I send for you type of thing is like you gotta know. So that's a thin line, but you have to really create your brand to where people understand how they can come to you, how they can approach you, and they need to come correct when they're approaching me. I always tell people, you want to talk to me, there's a consultation fee. Fill out this form. If you can't afford the consultation fee, which I then take that money and apply it to the service that you're going to get, then you're not my client. So I had to learn that. You know how many times I was taking a little 500 here and 1,000. Like now I'm like, no, this is my price. Because if one person honors your price, there's hundreds of people that's going to do it. So you just got to pick those people and identify those. So like since the pandemic, of course, we reevaluate our lives and we're like, okay, what was I doing wrong? The world came to a stop. Let me now rebrand myself, which is and I tell people you can rebrand yourself every 6 months to a year, every 3 months, depending on what the rebranding is. Don't come to me with yellow hair and that's what you rock. And then you come with some great, like, I don't know, but then that too can become a brand that every time I see Ike, his beard is short, long, like you can create that, but be consistent with it. But even with the pandemic, like I said, it's like we have to stop and like really start having conversations about what we want to do. And that's what I did. I started realizing like I have some rich friends, right? And I'm not there for their money. I'm there for their knowledge. I just sit under and just let them just talk and let them invite me to stuff because they know if they invite me, I'm going to be a great representation to them. So my brand is good with them. They're like, we went to a $7 million house and they was doing some type of it was like a museum type of mansion thing. But my friend didn't have to bring me to that. She could have chose anybody else to bring, but she knew that I was going to represent her. She knew I was going to get in the room and promote her because that's just my personality, because I'm always that guy that's like, oh, such and such do this and da da da. So I'm always promoting my friends. So they already knew what they was going to get when I walked in that event with them. But just getting to know, I think I'm answering your question, but just really understanding who you are as a brand. And I just feel like people who come and sit in front of me just needs to understand who they are first before we go and do anything else. Because there's a lot of things we want to do, but if you're not passionate about it and you're not going to get up and do it, like, why waste your time? Because the time, what they say, we can't get time. That's one thing we can't get back is time. So why waste your time calling yourself a painter and you don't really like to paint? You just like to do DIYs. So you know what I mean? So get on TikTok and all of that and do DIY projects. And if somebody, maybe you do a consult with people to say, this is how I did it. You may not physically have time to get up and paint everybody's house or create, paint a bowl and put some flowers in it and all that stuff, understand who you are, understand your brand. So that's what I always try and get out of people, so I could fully understand, like, this is really what you want to do. Because I would tell you, don't waste my time. Because all money is not good money, right? So I'd rather not get paid by a client that's getting on my nerves. You know what I mean? Because my piece is my piece. And I got to a point where I don't have to take on everybody as a client. I can say, you know what? Don't pay me next month. I'm going to finish out this and we're going to go our separate ways. And then my contracts is, if I decide I'll finish out 30 days, that gives you time. We don't just stop. So all that's written. So when you sign on with me, you understand the consequences of me not wanting to discontinue our relationship.
Right. So understanding kind of what the messaging is that you want to put out is key when someone comes to you in terms of branding themselves and really getting out there and starting this whole thing. Now, in segueing that, when you look at your clients, what's kind of the common denominator in terms of sort of the complication or kind of the challenge that clients have with branding themselves? Is it not understanding who they want to go to, not understanding themselves, or like what do you find that's like a problem that you're solving on a consistent basis?
What the biggest thing is, and with everybody that's breathing, is fear, right? So everybody gets this, they want to do it in the beginning, then they get scared because it's becoming a thing, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Okay, Ike, you got me here. Okay, now I have to do this. And now you got me. So it's fear. And a lot of times people talk their way out of, they self-sabotage and not even on purpose. You know, I had a client and I said, write your mission statement. And she could not really comprehend what I was saying. She
Right.
knew what she wanted in her head, but what she was saying in her mouth was completely different than the previous conversation we had. So I'm like, how did you change that? So write your mission statement. And she thought that I was going to take her hand and write it. I
Mm-hmm.
said, that's not how this works, because I need to know what's in your brain. So when you put it on paper, I can look at it and say, either yes, this is what you are and this is what I see, or if this is what you want to be, we need to figure out how you can stay consistent with doing this. And then
Right.
we have that conversation. Is this really what you want to do? And it's funny because she was like, yeah, since Ike, you gave me homework. I said, my job is to challenge you. I'm managing when a brand strategist manage the brand. So I give you things to do and you come back to me with them completed. I do what I have to do, but you still have a job. You can't just sit around and say, okay, Ike, what's the next thing? No,
Mm-hmm.
this is not how it works. You have to continuously be able to market yourself, promote yourself, know what's going on, be hands on. You know what I'm saying? You ain't paying me that much for me to just let you go over there and take a nap and I'm building in stuff. Now I'm not doing that. And that
Right.
don't even make sense for you to pay me and not know what's going on. So now she learned like, oh, okay, I get it now. I understand, because it's like I used to be a man in middle school. My mom, I used to do homework until 12 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like literally like eat at the table. My sister done did her homework. She outside playing up, running up and down the street, and I'm sitting in the house annoyed, getting a
Right.
beating, because you know what I mean, like typical boy stuff. So I take those things, the things that I learned, and I'm like, you have to apply yourself. You know the work. When I was a kid, I knew the work. I just didn't want to do it.
Right. Yeah.
I knew the answer. I was just sitting there wasting time, and now I realize I can't get that time back.
Right.
If I would have did the work, I would have been outside more. I would have been, active, in other ways. Like, oh, okay, maybe something else would have piqued my interest faster. You know what I mean? So, which I'm glad is not, because I love what I do now. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, that's pretty much it when it comes to people. It's like, just know what you want. I'm a big believer in understanding who you are and what you want to do. So
Right.
my answers are always going to be wrapped around, what do you want to do?
Yes.
So,
And taking the time to learn yourself, learn the business and what you really want to put out in the world. Like what's your legacy? And that's part of your mission statement. So what's the legacy that you are wanting to create? You have to be able to do the homework and do the self-work to dive into your own business. I think if an entrepreneur is kind of in a space where they're not doing that work, then it's time to like reevaluate where you are and wanting to be on this journey, because the journey of entrepreneurship is ongoing homework.
oh
It's
yeah.
ongoing self-evaluation. So I'm glad you said that in terms of just keeping it real, right? Because a lot of times there's a lot of butterflies and rainbows, and this branding and marketing can be strategic and done well if you have the right sort of homework done, for lack of a better term. You got a good foundation, right? You know where you're going, but it can go very wrong, I think, for someone who's confused and doesn't know what they want to put
Right.
out in the world. And so, speaking on branding and marketing, in your perspective, what's the difference between the two? Because I think sometimes people get confused and they put them both in the same bucket, where essentially they do two different things and they have two different purposes.
So yeah, so with marketing is the numbers. You know what I mean? So if your brand is an author and the books, your demographic of people are adult, maybe it's erotic, maybe it's comedy, maybe it's self-help. So all those calls for different viewership. So if I know that I'm not catering to children, then I'm not going to take and try and get a book signing at and if I'm sorry, if it's not to show, I'm not going to go to a bookstore that just caters to kids. You know what I mean? I can go into a Barnes and Noble, right? And then in hopes being planted in there that a mother that is an adult, happens to see that I have a self-help book and she could possibly be an entrepreneur, she can buy my book. But
Mhm.
Barnes and Noble has a demographic, their core audience are people who love to read. So
Right.
anybody, white, black, Asian, whatever, young or old, will come in there. So that's a good place to have a book signing because you'll get so many different people. Now, if you go into an urban bookstore and you have a self-help book, if you're trying to help everybody, that may not be a proper place to just be in a black bookstore or, or Afrocentric, whatever. You may want to keep on staying in those type of Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. So it really just ties into what you want. So the brand is going to be in the bookstore, but then the marketing of it is what type of bookstore, what location. Are you going to the hood? Are you going, you know what I'm saying? Like if you go to California, do you go to the Grove? My book is in the Grove. That's a popular place. Let's go to the Grove. Let's go to Calabasas and see, like, so it depends. It depends on your demographic of people. You may want rich people to find your book and then hire you to come and speak on a TED Talk, or your demographic may be you want to help young entrepreneurs. That's not going to be in Calabasas or somewhere where they're $500,000 homes, or a $250,000 homes, whatever. You may want to go to a middle class because you want to help. That's your demographic. So it's really marketing is finding the demographic, doing the numbers. If I sell 5 books here, it gets me this. If I sell 20 books here, it's mad. You know what I mean? It's adding, subtraction, it's multiplying, it's all those things.
Right.
Distance, how far from one bookstore to another do you want to be able to travel in a day? That's still your marketing, because let's just say let's say if I sell it in book A, if I run out, is book store B too far for somebody to go and catch it? So when I do the marketing, I say, hey, you can buy my book at bookstore A and bookstore B. You know that's the same target demographic. So somebody's going to either go left or right out their driveway and go to that bookstore. You see? So your marketing is in that area.
Right. And I immediately always think of McDonald's when it comes to branding and marketing, because like their branding we know is the red and yellow, which is similar to Imperfect Action Show because they're complementary colors. They grab attention, but it's the golden arches, right? That's their branding. You know them for that. And then their marketing, they do stuff. Oh, I guess we could swear on here. I don't swear often, so I'm like, wait, did I just cuss? They do their marketing with Travis Scott, Cardi B, and Offset. So they're marketing and they're targeting a very specific demographic using these people. And so that's like what I think about when I say, okay, what's the difference? What's the branding and what's the marketing? So yeah, that was a great explanation.
But then I'm just assuming too, just the fact that McDonald's is a family restaurant. But then when they see an open demographic of hip hop, if people are spending $900 to see Beyonce and $100 to see whomever else, they know that the people I'm a pescatarian, so I don't eat meat, so I don't know what was all in there, but I don't even know how much it costs. But if you run that campaign, she has so many millions followers, so does Offset, so does Meg Thee Stallion. They're going to tap into that. Why not? It's money money in people's pockets.
Right.
That's going to follow those people. So if you selling something that normally costs $8 and you hiking it up to $20 just to say that you have a piece of a celebrity, why not do that partnership?
Yeah.
Why not make that make sense? Because everybody needs to eat.
Right.
McDonald's isn't doing nothing wrong. They just presented the item. Nobody's holding you by the hand and telling you to purchase that.
Right. I think they're targeting, a specific community for sure.
Yeah. But see, and that's the marketing. They already got the brand. We already know the French fries are going to be good. We already know the filet of fish is going to be good. We already know fountain drinks is going to be good. We already know the the Sunday machine is broke. We already know that. You get what I'm saying? So you don't go. So remember, I was talking about, you can have a negative rep and you can have a positive. You're going to go down the street to get your ice cream, but you're going to go and get those French fries to dip into the ice cream. You know what I mean? It's a whole thing. So that's what I mean. Like, yeah, we know that this Sunday machine is broke.
Right. Exactly.
But we're going to go ahead and get some fries.
Exactly. I mean, McDonald's fries and a Coke will set you straight after a night out.
Oh my gosh.
And speaking of strategy and marketing, like what has been your most effective marketing strategy?
Myself.
Okay.
Because you know what? Myself, because I can control that. And I feel like I take honor in doing the stuff that I do, the works that I do. Like I have on my Otis Redding t-shirt. They have they're down in Macon, Georgia, and I support them. I sit on the board of Uptown Theater in Philadelphia. I'm also on a committee. It's a Black museum called African American Music Museum, National African American Music Museum in Nashville, and I sit on a committee with people like Stephen Hill, Angela Yee, Bobby Jones, and it's an amazing group of people who I get to say that I'm affiliated with. And then you have your board like Deanna Williams, Phil Thornton from he was E1, then he was RCA, and yeah, so those people that are really making change in the music industry. So it's an honor. I've gotten citations from the city of Philadelphia. I got a proclamation. I have an actual day in Georgia. June 18th is my day for my advocacy for Black Music Month. So I'm my biggest accomplishment, and I love it because, like I said, I can control that, because I can take on clients all day long, and we may not last for 10 years, we may last for a year, but I'm glad, I know that I instilled something in. So I guess all my clients, I know that I put something in them that they won't never forget. You know what I mean? Because I'm always teaching as well. So that's like my biggest accomplishments, like my wall in my office. I'm like, oh man, my name is in books that nobody can erase. You know what I mean? City and state books that, like, okay, who do we give a citation to in 2017? Oh, Isaac Hanford, what he does. So I can always take these things and present them to get other opportunities. So I know that sounds selfish, but it's the selfish season. We have to like really think about ourselves. We really have to like embrace what we've done and big ourselves up, because we spend all day bigging up everybody else, and then they go on and move on to the next.
Right.
I live in Atlanta. I see a publicist working with this person. I know that person they was working with was in my inbox. I know that I had. So it's like you can't get mad about stuff like that, because
Mm-hmm.
people are gonna go to what they want to go to. They're going to stop dealing with you because somebody's dangling a bigger carrot in front of them and they can do more. And then when you see that they didn't do more, now it's like, do I take this person back on, or do I let them just, so then
Mm-hmm.
you got to make that decision. So those are the ebbs and flows of being an entrepreneur, and just having to see like nobody's loyal. You know what I mean? That loyalty is short lived sometimes. It could
Right.
be money, it could be, I don't think you're doing as much as I need you to do, and then they go to somebody that still that don't have citations, don't have 22 years of entertainment in them. So it's just weird. That's a hard thing, because I just know what I do, and I just make sure that I'm always keeping myself prayed up. I'm always just making sure that I stay loyal to who's loyal to me, and just stay true, and not, it's a lot of scammers out here. It's just a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. And when I hear these stories, I'm like, dang, who has time to scam? Like, that's a lot of energy
Mm-hmm.
to like wake up and scam and create these things that are not real, gaslighting and manipulation. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. What has been one of the like biggest risks that you've taken within the business, that you learned sort of the most from? Like it was a major risk, but on the opposite side of that, you came out a better person or maybe a better coach. Um,
Mhm.
Talk to us about a time that was like real risky, but you went all in. You took imperfect action and you just went with your gut to do
Yeah.
it. It came out.
What the biggest thing is moving from Philadelphia to Atlanta. Oh, I never thought that I would move from Philadelphia, because I was moving and shaking. But guess what else I was doing? I was working a full-time job and trying to be a full-time entrepreneur. So I was like changing my clothes in the car. I had a two-door, like changing my clothes coming from, I used to work at a bank, just so I can go and host an open mic. You know what I mean? But people were waiting for that. It was every Wednesday, it was flooding. Like, everybody was just in the building. They wanted to hear live music. Philadelphia is known for having great music. Night, like I feel like it's like 80% of musicians in the industry are from Philadelphia. So I was a part of a movement. Every
Yeah.
day we had something to do. So I feel like when I packed my bags and told my dad to get in the car, let's go, I feel like that was my biggest and scariest moment. And I tell people too, that move here, because so many people move to Atlanta and don't really have a plan. And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people move to Atlanta to get away from the negativity. But I always tell people, you got to fix yourself before you get on this road to come to Atlanta. Because what's going to happen is you're going to find this. Your talent wasn't great in the city that you coming from, right? And then you find non-talented people like yourself, and then y'all in this group. and y'all bigging each other up, and you're not really doing anything. You're just spinning in circles. So
Mhm.
even if it's vocal, whether it's acting, you need to have guidance to where you should know, like, I can't sing like I think I can. Let me go and get some training. Then maybe I can't sing at all. Maybe I should be doing something else. Maybe I should be doing A&R. Maybe I should be doing stage production. I don't know, but I think a lot of people move and don't really know. They're just running from something negative in their city, and
Right.
then they're here. So, and I always tell people, if you move here, when people move here and they're unsettled, I'm like, you're not gonna be successful. A lot of people don't even know. I drove for Uber Eats and Papa John's for a year. Now, I purposely did that, strategically did that, because I didn't know Georgia,
Mhm.
right? So I was like, boom, if I'm driving around, I'm learning the city, I'm learning the streets. I didn't care. I didn't care that I was Ike, I was Izzy Ike and all this stuff, because I was new to Atlanta. Now, Philly, I'm not driving Uber Eats because people be like, Ike, you know. But here, the little bit of people that I already knew was here, and then the people that I kind of knew, I was like, forget it. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and rock out. But I know I purposely set a goal of mine to learn the city of Atlanta, well, it's the state of Georgia, because people get it messed up. Atlanta is a city. Then you have Dunwoody, Marietta,
Right.
Riverdale. You got all these places. People just think Atlanta is Georgia, like
Yeah.
how people think Philly is Pennsylvania. Is weird. But I always tell people, I have friends that that's still unstable. I said, you have to get a job. If you don't have income, if you're not feeding yourself, if you don't have a roof over your head, you're never going to be productive. You're
Right.
always going to be stagnant, because you're going to be worried about where you're going to sleep, how you're going to eat, what money do you have to get to that event. So I always tell people my testimony, because it really was a testimony, and I didn't have to necessarily work that, but I had to keep myself active. I had to have a thankless job to know that I was getting up every day on purpose,
Right.
right? Because you could sit and you could find yourself under the covers watching TV, under the covers watching TV, sad. Why am I sad? Get your lazy butt up and go and do something that's going to keep your mind. Like, low key, that was like the best job. I mean, just driving around delivering food, and then my earphones, I'm talking to my friends, well, here you go, here you go. Best job ever. I
Right.
Hands down. Best. I understand why people do Lyft and Uber. It brings some type of joy to
Yes.
you on a daily basis, that you're just interacting with people that you wouldn't see on a regular basis. So that's another message. Like, if you're watching this and you are just trying to figure it out, and you don't have no money, you're living on somebody's couch, you promise somebody, give me 6 months, and you still don't have it figured out, get a job. Just, it's too many side hustles now since the pandemic. So many side hustles have been created
Mhm.
to get people acclimated to not interacting with people, but having a job, working from home, and all that stuff. So I always tell people, like, get a job, get that income, let that bank account look like something. Now, I'm not saying thousands and millions, but 100, 200. Like, be able to say, okay, I can eat. Okay, you're human. You know what I'm saying? It could be a
Right.
bad month. You like, dang, I'm a little, but the next month is popping.
Yeah.
But
And it's all
money,
about being resourceful too,
yeah.
to your point of driving. Like I've done it because I've also wanted to build my network, look at different venues in LA because
Hmm.
I do events. And so there's so much that can come out on the opposite side of it, but it's being resourceful. So if you do have to have a situation where you're driving Uber Eats or you're driving for Lyft or Uber, driving people, what so have you, your branding could be as simple as you taking a magnetic promo, slapping that on your vehicle, and
Hmm.
you're now driving around. Yes, you're driving for someone else, but
Yeah.
your car is your brand. Like that's your marketing, right? You put your branding on your car,
Yes.
that's your marketing. So you can market yourself that way. But it's a great way to build networking connections with people because it's all a service-based business in terms of how I view it. So
Hmm.
that was a great point
Oh
that you
yeah,
made.
yeah, for sure.
I do want to get to this question from the audience. So we have Marlene, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Oh wait, I forgot we were live. I'm just
Yeah, no, we're live. We
like,
live.
I forgot that it was people. I
Yeah,
thought
we're
I was
live and we're
talking to
coming
my
around
homegirl.
roundabout. So we'll ask this question. I have one other question and then we'll kind of wrap it. But this is a great one. Hi, thanks for the info. How to build a personal brand and open doors for me and not just generate sympathy, move people and take action. Now, if you're still live with us, I would ask you to kind of get a little bit more detailed because I don't know, maybe you understand it, but I'm a little confused with the question. We want to make sure we can get you an answer if we can. But how to build a personal brand and open doors for me and not just generate sympathy, move people and take action. What I'm gathering, and I could be wrong, is maybe the question is asking, how does she build a personal brand for herself that will open doors and
Gotcha.
allow her to move people, but not in a way where she's just generating sympathy for maybe what she does. That's what
Yeah.
I got from it. I could be completely off target. So again, Marlene, if you're on with us live, go ahead and chat some detail in there for us.
Well, I would just say, and I'm going back to the coloring of the hair, right, and making that so when those things happen, if she has like a thing about her, like I have a beard, so everybody say, "Oh, you got the Philly beard," or they may say, "Oh, I thought you was tired." Candy said, like it's a thing, right? So people know my beard and my bald head. So when I walk in a room, they already think I have a familiar face. They know my brand. So I would just tell her if she's looking to if networking is what it is, I feel like she needs to create that experience that people will remember, right? Long lasting. Your brand. Remember this. The word brand comes from when people used to brand cattle, like
Mm-hmm.
and horse, all that stuff. So when you brand something, it keeps a long lasting impression. So always think about that when you think about branding. What's going to keep a long lasting impression into that person, right? And also too, the first 7 seconds we're judging a person. I look from the feet and up. So if your shoes is turned over, 9 out of 10, that only applies if your shoes look like they've been ran through. That only applies when you're in Miami, because that means that person's a millionaire. That's the only place. That's the only city that I don't mind looking at your shoes and be like, you know what? He got a yacht he's walking to. Okay, so I'm not going to judge this one, but yeah, but I feel like the long lasting impression is what you need. So if you don't technically have, I'm just assuming, right? If you don't have a brand yet, your networking and your personality needs to be that thing, because she can have a thought like, I want to be a designer, but I don't have nothing to design. So you need to be a person who always goes to events that are around the things that she wants to do. So events that are targeting that thing, the design, an actress, a singer, go to open mics, just be there, but also make sure your brand is noticed. So if you have a shirt and it has your logo on it, it has your name, wear that shirt every time you go somewhere. Now
Mm-hmm.
wash that shirt. Don't not wash it. You know what I'm saying? Your brand needs to be that she always smell good and she looks good. So you want to make sure you just stay consistent on how you approach yourself. And the sympathy needs not to be that you sound desperate when you're talking to somebody. You never go into a situation broke minded with a broke mind, because people can see that. You go in with enthusiasm. You go in like, hey, my name is Isaac Ham and I just wanted to say hi. I'm just here in this city, and I aspire to be in this industry. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you see that person, when I moved to Atlanta, you would see all these celebrities. I learned very quickly, do not be mad that you didn't get to interact with one, because Atlanta is filled with events. So every time you turn around, you see the same people. So I learned that really quickly. Like, oh my God, I missed such and such. No, then I see her or he 2 events later. So, but I knew that I had my 7 second, you got your 30-second elevator pitch too. Practice that. So if your thing is just saying your name, where you're from, I'm new here, I enjoy being in this type of element. If that's your pitch to people, they're going to remember that next time. Be like, hey, I saw you at the last event. Remember, I'm enjoying these events, and you walk away and you
Yep.
see him again. But by the third time, you should have something going on before you go speaking to him again. Maybe you just need the wave. But that's what you may need to do. And in the sympathy, I don't know her, so I don't know how she approaches people and what stories she gives a person that could be a little heavy versus it just being, hey, my name is, because everybody don't need to know your struggles either. They just need to see your face. They just need to know that you have a good personality, and then you just don't do too much the first time. Just introduce yourself.
I love that.
You
And
know.
tip two, I'll give you guys a gem about the elevator pitch that I learned being a person that wears multiple hats, has many different talents. Know your audience. And so what I mean by that is, say you are, someone who is doing marketing, right? But you also are great at hosting and you also are great at coaching and leadership. but you know you're getting ready to go to an event and you want to meet a person who needs marketing. Like that's their need. When you do your elevator pitch, only do your pitch based on marketing and what you can do for that person, instead of saying, well, I am a marketing strategist. I also host events and I coach leaders, but like don't give them
Right.
everything, package it specifically for that person. So I learned that the hard way, but it was a really good lesson that I took away from a podcast. So I just wanted to give you guys that gem too. And then leading out, rounding this whole conversation up, and thank you for the dialogue. Now with the emergence of AI, right, and that becoming such a big thing in 2023, like you could literally send in photos and turn into a whole different person, but still kind of look like yourself. It's kind of crazy. What's the necessity you feel with marketing and branding your business when it comes to the emergence of AI?
So I'm not that you know, versed in that. So I would decline even giving an answer on anything with that. But I would tell you, and I can't think about like the it's a marketing term. So you know, you have people that will, a new iPhone will come out. So that somebody will buy it in the first 24 to 48 hours, right? Then you have somebody who will wait 3 months. You have somebody wait 6 months, but then you have somebody that wait 2 years. So I'm more of the person that when people target me, I'm more of the 2 year waiter. You know what I mean? So I always like to look at anything. I don't just jump and just do it, right? Because some people can afford to do that financially or just time. They could just jump into something and be like, okay, I'll invest in that. So I'm one that kind of sit back and watch and do my research and stuff like that. So I would just safely say in this answer that I will do my due diligence and research in that and just kind of understanding what all that is. I mean, if you could tell me, I could kind of give you my thoughts on if there's something that I will, you know.
Yeah, totally. So what I can like kind of leave for you all in terms of my personal touch points with AI. So Chat GPT is really big right now. You have a lot of entrepreneurs or content creators using Chat GPT because it's spitting out information relatively quickly. So it's allowing us as entrepreneurs to really gain back some time if we don't have assistants like virtual assistants or other people on our team. Like maybe we didn't scale to that level yet. And there's also virtual assistants who are smart. They're charging for their service, but they're using this AI in the background to actually produce the information or produce the product for their clients. And so basically with the AI, it's a technology that a computer performs a variety of advanced functions. So it's either getting you translating spoken written language for you, or it's analyzing data or making recommendations. So if I could just leave some some sort of feedback for you all, utilize AI in a way that it can be beneficial for you, but don't let AI take over who you are and your branding. Because if a computer is giving you information in terms of, captions, call to actions, even imaging, if it's really taking your brand to a different place and it's not who you are, then you want to make sure you're catering it around something that's very relative to your branding. So for example, if you go on Chat GPT right now and you type in create 4 different captions for a spoken word artist, right? And it gives you captions and it's read the way the computer spits it out. Reread that and then make it your own. Like take the information, but don't regurgitate it and spit it right back out verbatim. Like make it specific to who your brand and what your brand is. So that's pretty much the AI. And that I'll leave you guys kind of with that based on my personal use and how I use it now in my business to create more so my captions, because I know it takes a long time to write this stuff and do content. And so I want something that's relatively quick and to the point, and it's great for that use. But I do go in there and I'll put my Stizzle Speaks swag on it, if you say.
A friend of mine, I forget the name of the program, but you can go in there and you can put in keywords. So it's probably similar to what you're saying. And then it will create a whole paragraph. It'll create a whole, and I'm like, oh, but then you do have to go in there and read it and make sure that it's in your voice. You know what I mean? Because the computer is just creating something very professional, something very whomever, right? That wrote it, that programmed this, but yet back to your target demographic, they may not understand big words. They may need you to break it down a little bit so they can kind of understand it. And they don't have to go and stop, because what you never want to do is for people to have to stop and research something that you said. Because then it's then they may not come back to your page. They may swipe up and be like, oh shit, I lost it. And then they don't think to, it's been many times I've been on Instagram and I went to find something and and it was just an average. I was like, dang, where is it? And I had to swipe because somebody called and I missed the whole thing. So it's like you want to make sure that you get the people in those couple seconds and they don't have to Google nothing and say, let me go over here and look. And then they start, our attention span is very short nowadays, right? Because we're entrepreneurs, we're home, we're doing everything virtual, everything is kind of weird now, as far as using our phones and stuff. So yeah, no, I understand, but I'm gonna do my research. Like I said, I'm a sponge, so I'm gonna go and do my research. And you see, I'm honest. I'm not gonna just sit up here and make up something, because then my brand is now lasting on your YouTube. And they be like, that guy didn't even know what the hell he was talking about. And now he looks stupid.
No, come first. So I appreciate that. All right, let the audience know where they can find you and what they can look forward to if they find your page or go to your website, what it is that you offer as we round out the Imperfect Action Show.
Yeah, so you can find me. My website is I as in Isaac, M as in Mary, the number 3 media, media.com. That's my website, so you can read more about me. My Instagram is Izzy Ike, IZZYIKE, and then in my bio, it's a link, so you can see my podcast. You can buy my books. My two books is called The Brand Is You: 5 Easy Steps to Building a Successful Brand, and the second one is a playbook. It's a workbook, but that's the new trend. That's the new on brand playbook, and it's called The Brand Is You: Changing Your Perception. And I'm also working on another book called Please Excuse My Ums. And where that came from, because during the pandemic, and we was kind of in Georgia, nobody was in a pandemic. I feel like we just took a break for 3 months and then we was back outside. Right. I was actually in California when March 14th, and it was crazy. It was like no food. We had to move our flight up so we can get out of there, because it was just very weird and scary. And I was like, I'm out. But lost my train of thought. My bio. So on there is my book. So the playbook, The Brand Is You: Changing Your Perception, is a playbook. So Please Excuse My Ums is, you know how we have if you're like doing a TED talk or you're public speaking and we do ums, and they say you're supposed to take a break and you're supposed to just say, hey, let me get my thoughts together. I feel like we did a lot of umming during the pandemic, and a friend of mine was like, oh, you're not working, Ike? What you doing? He wanted to know, like, who you working with? I said, I'm just chilling. And then it just came to me like, I'm just umming, like, please excuse my So the book is going to be about creating systems. Like how you said with the AI thing, it's like, that's a system. I tell people when they want to, people get a lot of emails, do the email that's going to send back to them and say, please give me 24 to 48 hours. That is a system. How you pick up your phone, how often you answer your phone. You may set up your voicemail, so you'll just let it go to voicemail and tell people in that system, you need to say, hey, I need to tell people to leave a message, or you may not get a return phone call back. So it's important that you do that. That is telling your audience, to leave a message so you can get the phone call back. So those are systems, and we don't think about the things that we do. When we get up every morning, you have a system. You get up, you may do yoga, you may stretch, then you brush your teeth. You may brush your teeth. You may drink your coffee before brushing your teeth, because why do it twice? You know what I mean? So that is a system. That's a personal system, but we have systems that we have personally and that we do business wise, and we don't think about writing it down and start looking and say, oh man, I do this every day at 10 o'clock, then 10:30, then 12, then, so please excuse my I'm working on that now. So that's going to be another.
Love that. Congratulations.
Thank
you.
Y'all,
listen, we went a little over time, but we got a lot of information. So I want to thank Ike for being here today, talking to us about the necessity of marketing and branding your business and yourself. So make sure, and now I'm paying attention to the ums, and I didn't think I was an ummer. So make sure you tune in with him at Izzy Ike on Instagram, and im3media.com is his website. This was another Imperfect Action episode. Make sure you see us here for the next one. We'll see y'all in the next. Have a good day.
Thank you.